I'm going to give you some breaking news. No one saw coming. Wales are out of the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, that'll do us, won't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, it feels broadly quite terrible,
Yeah.
to be honest. You made the point in the previous video that, I mean, it was Johan Cunningham, so different management, but general point is the WRU were intent on trying to get Wales to a semi-final by this time round.
They were very outspoken before the last World Cup. Then, as recently as 18 months ago, they were very outward in saying the goal is a semi-final.
Yeah.
Wales have gone out in the pool.
And now we're looking at staring down the barrel of potentially getting whitewashed in this.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know about you, but I looked at that Scotland versus Fiji game and I just thought, damn, they look better than us. They challenge Scotland more than we do.
It was a Scotland team that had one change, which was injury enforced, in Ellis Martin in for Lance Geldon. A very good replacement to be coming in.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, the same team, in the same stadium, at the same kick-off time, conditions identical, other than there was some rain, which would have favoured Wales more than it favours Fiji, and yet Fiji gave Scotland a much better game.
Yeah. They scored more points and conceded less than Wales did against Scotland.
Well, do you want a stat?
Go on.
We'll get to Canada. We'll get on to Canada. But, we are Welsh fans, so we're going to cover Wales first. Wales have currently scored the fewest points of any team in this World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, unsurprising.
Brazil and Samoa both scored more points than Wales.
Yeah, getting nilled in the second game. That's the thing that's frustrated me most here. Because losing to Canada, right, we knew that was coming.
Yeah.
We knew that realistically Wales weren't going to beat Canada. What stings is the nil.
Yeah.
And the fact that Wales just do not have a remotely functioning attack.
So this is the thing, right? And there's been a lot of talk, most of the talk around Wales from the Welsh press and Welsh fans, mixed reaction from Welsh fans, I think, but from Welsh press has been hugely improved performance. Kira Bevan was saying if we played that way against Scotland, maybe we would have beat them. I don't think that's true. I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that.
I think Sean Lynn put it best when he said that there were patches in that game where I saw the team I want to build. But overall, wasn't, overall that wasn't a good
Patches is the key word.
But this is the thing, right? The first 10 minutes, Wales were excellent.
Yeah.
Wales were very, very good, in complete control of the game, got, massively in control. Last 15 minutes, this is the thing Sean Lynn pointed to, the last 15 minutes, he said, they're a real patch of the team I want to see in terms of a team that takes risks and fights for each other and works for each other, right? They scored 0 points in those two periods.
Yeah.
There were a combined 25 minutes where Wales were on top in this game.
I don't agree that they were excellent for that first 10 minutes. I just thought they were in the
Wales,
sense they were in the 22.
Wales were good. In comparison to the last few weeks, Wales were much better than they've been, right? And Wales remained in control of the game and put pressure on Canada and worked hard,
but
etc.
scored
But this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? What is the point in playing well and doing individual good things if you're scoring 0 points?
Yeah.
And so I think fundamentally, this is the thing, I've raised this point elsewhere, but Wales at the minute are not a fundamentally broken rugby team. There's lots of their game plan that works, but they are so bad at scoring points, which is the only thing that ultimately matters in the game, right? And look at Fiji, and Fiji is sort of the opposite, right? There's lots of parts of Fiji's game that don't work at the minute and aren't functional and aren't interesting or good, which do work for Wales. But Fiji can score points. They can score breakaways. When they get into 22, they finish opportunities. Wales have, against Scotland, they got into 22 more times than Scotland. They spent more time in terms of minutes in the 22 than Canada this week, and were only one behind them in terms of 22 entries. And yet the two games considered 5 tries and then 6. The accuracy is not there at all. And I've made the point repeatedly about the assistant coaches and the fact that Wales don't really have an attack coach. They've got a skills and kicking coach who's have to step up and be an attack coach. But there's no detail in that Welsh attack. So they get that, and people keep praising the Welsh effort, and I think that's true. I think that's fair. The players put a hell of a lot of effort, and they do every week. However, what is the point in putting in a lot of effort when what you need is detail? What you need is players pinning bodies to the ground. What you need is players knowing where to stand and what lines to run. What you need is wingers working in or players flashing around to blind sides. What you need is to be working smarter, not harder, right?
Yeah.
And instead, Wales are consistently asking their players to work hard because they don't have the manpower behind the scenes or the person power behind the scenes to go about working out how do they work smarter, how do they work in situations where they don't need to be running into brick walls all the time.
Because the thing is, we know that the 15 Welsh players that played in that game weren't as good as the 15 Canadian players. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, that's part of the World Cup, is you'll play against better teams than you are. It's the point in playing as a favourite, is that you get an opportunity to have a crack against these. And so the ways around that are, as you say, working smarter and working harder. Wales opted for working harder. And again, Canada can then up that and raise the stakes a little bit, you know. There's a couple of things about this that really, really frustrate me. One is, right, as I say, there is no attack and there is absolutely no line out.
Yeah.
Guess which two fundamental areas of rugby Wales do not have a coach for?
Yeah.
The attack and the line out. They don't have a specialist for either of those. And so Wales look utterly clueless on an international rugby pitch against those. And it's not the players' fault. They're being humiliated by the WAU. The WAU are deliberately hanging them out to dry because they want to save money by not hiring these coaches.
It's with, Sean Connor is officially the attack coach, right? Yeah. But like, he was brought into skills and kicking coach, and then when Richard Whiffen left as attack coach, instead of bringing in someone else, they moved him to
they stitched him up.
Jobs.
Yeah.
Right? So officially he's the attack coach, but essentially he's a skills and kicking coach.
But regardless, point still stands.
Yeah, just to, like, as a, you know.
And you mentioned there that obviously Wales, you know, people praise the effort, and I completely agree with that, right? That especially in the second half, managing to, because at half time when it was 33-0, I think I want to say, and at that point it was just really frustrating, and it was just. It felt awful, and a lot of people were saying, like, yeah, but it's against one of the best teams in the world. And of course it is, but you never want to be 30 points down at half time.
Okay, so we've got to look at this from where Wales were, right? The last two times they played Canada, last time but one, we went back to 2021, I believe, and they kept Canada without a try, or no, it was within 7 points. They were within 7 points up to 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? So like, they were in that game, they were competitive. Canada have got much better since then. You know, Kevin Rue's come in and done a brilliant job since then. That was, you know, before he came in. Sure. Well, he's attack coach then, right? He's been promoted to head coach. And then back in 2023, last time they played in WXV1, right, the margin was, I think, 12, 13 points. Like, Wales were in that game for much of the time. They led late in the first half. Like, they were right in that game.
Sure.
Wales have gone so far backwards in 2 years. And yes, Canada have moved forward, but like, well, I don't think it is Wales have moved. I think Wales have stood perfectly still. And Wales are now the barometer of where the game was 4 years ago. Because everyone else has improved by such a margin, and Wales are still exactly where they were in 2022.
If you take that game out of context, having not watched women's rugby before, then you can probably say that, you know? But with this, as I say, the thing that annoys me is, like, just saying it was a good effort. And, like, of course it was.
Yeah.
But you have to apply some context to that. And that's what I liked about what Sean Lynn said, where he said it was a good effort, but, right? Because the two aspects of this are, one, of course it was a good effort. They're playing for their country. They're playing for Wales at the World Cup against one of the best teams in the world. Of course they're trying really hard. Of course they're doing their best. Like, I don't blame the players for that whatsoever. Like, fair play to them. Standing up and having a crack and slowing down the momentum of one of the best teams in the world is a brilliant thing. And that second half does deserve enormous credit for that, right? The thing that, as a Welsh fan, fucking pisses me off is a load of people saying, oh, it was a way better performance than last week. Yeah, of course it was.
Yeah.
Last week was possibly the worst performance of this whole World Cup cycle. Yeah. Why are we considering that part? Why are we then now saying that anything better than that is what suddenly makes playing for Wales, who were aiming for a semi-final, what suddenly makes that a good performance? Yeah. And it's like, of course it was better. It's gone up from like a 1 out of 10 to a 4 out of 10. Like, and it's against a better opposition, so that slightly moves the goalpost a little bit. But it's just like, that really pisses me off, because it's like, what kind of accountability is that? Oh, it was better than last week. Yeah, we were terrible last week.
I think all you can do is improve on the performance, right? But
sure.
And no one's expecting Wales, even in the wildest version of this, to cause an upset.
Yeah. And that's fine.
But the issue comes back to the fact that they're just like, there's been no progress.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's been no progress in years.
It's the WAU's fault.
Yeah. And this isn't on the play. Like,
no.
There's a level in which there are some players there into, like, Wales do not have much depth, right? Yeah. And that has been an issue for a long time. It was an issue under Johan Cunningham. And so instead of trying to build depth and blood players, he just, like, kept picking the same team every single week.
Yeah.
No matter dips in form, no matter what. Real credit to Sean Lynn for not doing that. And for going, actually, he said something in the lead up to this game, which is like, if you're not playing well, you're out the team. I don't care. And actually, there were players who didn't perform against Scotland who then didn't get another chance here. And I appreciate that as a threat. You don't want, obviously, like, he's a coach who's very much like carrot first.
It's accountability, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, he's carrot first, but like, to have the option of the stick there as well.
Sure.
A little bit, just to keep it like lively. If there's a performance like that, you can't keep.
And also, he's taken a punt on a few players, like
Yeah.
bringing in like Tilly Vuchai, for example, who's
Yeah.
young as a second row. Like that's quite a brave call, and I respect the fact he's done that.
Look, Maisie Davis was brilliant against Australia. Was very good in the Six Nations. Struggled at this weekend.
Yeah.
That's going to happen to a young prop.
It's a
right?
character building
And
experience.
Exactly. Like every cap they get will move them closer to being the player they want them to be in 4 years' time.
Like Molly Reardon, I think really deserves to start because every time she comes to the events for Wales, she's brilliant. And the line out didn't function, unfortunately. And again, like how much is that on her? Probably not.
I think
as
there's a couple
but
of them that were.
Yeah,
but
it's a hard one to quantify.
You come back
isn't
to Abby Fleming, who's supposed to be the most experienced in the team.
Yeah.
Line out caller in the team.
And you have moments like Karis Cox, for example, coming in
Yeah.
at outside centre for Hannah
thought it was
Valle.
great.
Yeah, and
like
I think in attack it brings something different because she's not a distributor at all. But the good thing is, like, defensively, I didn't really notice her, which is a good thing, considering she was playing against Flo Simmons. And often we've seen Hannah Dalla Valle get in those situations against those really quick, rangy type outside centres and has been skinned by them. And having Karis Cox, who is by trade a winger, but is very accomplished, has played a lot in the PWR at centre and a couple of times there for Wales. Like, that's not a bad thing to be defensively broadly quite anonymous against a player like Flo Simmons. Like, Flo Simmons had one of the quieter games of 2025, I think, and that's a real positive for Wales.
Yeah. I think there's something, we've talked about this a bit off air, but like this World Cup is such a huge moment for women's rugby and for the growth of it and the way in which it's talked about and thought of. And I think a part of that has to be open criticism and accountability for teams and players that done before, right?
Yeah.
If England don't win this World Cup, the inquest should be similar to New Zealand in 2007.
Yeah.
Like, it should be complete, like, tear everything down and look into this and look at what happened. And I think Wales are currently the worst team in the tournament, if you look statistically, in terms of numbers, in terms of everything else, right? Like, and I know there's a couple of teams.
They're the team I've enjoyed watching the least.
Yeah.
And I support them. Like, I'm a huge fan of them.
And so you've got to talk about them in this way, I think.
Yeah.
And like, you don't need to pull out individual players, you don't need to talk about anything else, but like, it isn't working. No. And we talked last week about so much of it is the underfunding, is the lack of a backroom staff. People keep pointing to, is it Sean Lynn needs to go? And I'm like, no, like, the problem is
I don't see who we could bring in.
He needs a chance to clear out his backroom staff and bring someone in. Like, they've just missed out on Steve Shingler's doing a brilliant job, Scotland's attack coach. Like, there would be people out there. Di Flanagan has just been brought by Saracens. Like, there are coaches floating around who would work with this Welsh team. Why not have a crack at them? Why not have a look at them?
Without bringing in like Scott Robertson or Joe Schmidt.
Yeah, you don't need to go that far, right?
Yeah.
What you need,
who could you bring in?
What you need is a professional level attack coach, right?
Yeah.
Like even a Richard Fussell or I was going to say Matt Sherritt. He's obviously busy. He doesn't want anything to do with the national team ever again, I think.
Yeah.
But someone like Richard Fussell, attack coach of the Ospreys, or you got Dwayne Peel was doing it with Scarlets. Stephen Jones currently is off with Mana Pacifica. Like, bring him back home. Like, you've got so
He'd be a
many,
great fit for this team.
There's plenty of Welsh coaches who would view it as a step up, for whom, it's very much a step forward. It's not like, the men's national job will pay more. So I understand there might be some...
But it doesn't close the door on that.
That's it. But the thing is, other than that, this should be the highest, prestige.
You look at, Lewis Deacon does such a good job coaching England's line out.
Yeah.
That, England A men in the summer, I know it's England A versus England, but you know what I mean? Like, it's definitely... I guarantee that the RFU will pay the England A coaches more because it's the RFU,
we'll
right?
See, but...
They probably do. But regardless, it doesn't close the... If he wants to go back to men's rugby later on, is the point. You will get opportunities further down the line if you do a good job. Because men's rugby pays better, but also women's rugby is better.
I feel like I'm being incredibly repetitive, repeating the same point over and over again.
Yeah.
But every week I look at Wales and the standout thing is the lack of detail in the attack. And the lack of detail.
It's the same every week.
And it's the same problems. It's the same problems. And they don't have a specialist coach in those areas.
Yeah.
And you look at Ireland, have 8 specialist coaches, all of which have coached at least men's professional level or women's international level.
Yeah.
Prior to getting this gig. Alex Codling was head coach of a Premiership team 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Hugh Hogan was, not Hugh Hogan. Yeah, Hugh Hogan was forward coach of Leinster last time they won Champions Cup. Across the board, Fogarty is current scrum coach with Munster and he does double duty. All these people are incredibly well qualified. The Wales coaching panel is, other than Dan Murphy, who won the PWR 3 times
as a scrum coach,
was then moved up to be a defence coach to save money by having them do 2 jobs, right? The other coaches are academy level coaches who they brought in because they were cheaper. And they were brought in 5 years ago and they haven't performed.
Yeah.
So, like, we need Sean Lynn to have the right to clear house. And if he wants to keep Mike Hill and he wants to keep Sean Connor in, then keep them in the jobs they're right for, right? Which is like, keep them in as, you know, a kicking coach. Don't, and bring in someone else, because, like, this is the issue. The issue is the behind the scenes other stuff. And it's not the effort. The effort is always there.
Yeah.
We have to be more open and expect better of this team, because they should be better, right? The BBC put up a graphic of like how many professional contracts each country has, and Wales are third. Like Wales are the third most professional contracts of any team, and that doesn't. And you know, they're using the Vela Glamorgan, they're using best facilities.
Doesn't mean they're good contracts, of course.
Very much not.
It
very
doesn't.
Much not. That is very much a point.
It's very much
like
what's come out with the WU and also the SRU
Yeah.
is that. Those
Borderline
unions have very much
exploitative.
done that so that statistic looks
Yeah.
better in their favour.
Yeah.
So it's
But
conflated.
all the same, right? The players are still full time.
Yes.
And they still have the right to this.
100%.
And yet they are still cheaping out around that. And they're going, look at us, we've got 37 professional contracts. Look at us, we've got the head coach who's won the PWR 3 years in a row. What more do you need? And they've cheated on every other bit of the process.
Yeah.
We should talk about Canada.
Let's talk about Canada. Because Canada were, and I will use my phrasing very well here because there's a sliding scale, Canada were very good, right? They weren't brilliant. They weren't exceptional. They were very good.
To use the parlance of most of their team, or much of their team, Canada were bon. Canada were solid.
Yeah.
Having had a word with, off the back of the Canada video last week, like, small insight to the Canada camp, they are very frustrated with their performance, and I do not think they played well. And I thought they were below their usual standard.
Yeah.
And yet they are 42 points better than Wales. Right.
Yeah.
That is just where they're at. This is a team who are incredibly clinical when they get into 22, and yet they weren't always that. They had their lowest conversion rate in the 22 of this year so far.
Yeah.
Much lower than last week, which is to be expected, regardless of how they're looking at the minute and the sort of threat they pose to Scotland. Wales have a more physical defence than Fiji,
Yeah.
right? And so it's more like they're going to hold you up over the line, or they're going to turnover, or so on, and that's fine. However, Canada were turned over 27 times in that game. They gave up the ball a little too easily, and they had some errors. And you look at Kevin Rouet a week ago saying what they wanted to go and do is look at detail, very much the thing Wales haven't been doing, and look at the kind of small things. I think a lot of those were the kind of issues this week.
Sure.
And a lot of it was like breakdown and pressure and not getting people there quickly enough and so on. And I think, in a weird way, have they been focusing too much on it? Or has it been the case that they've gone, oh, well, maybe we're just thinking about these things, right? And we've missed bigger parts of the game. I'm not too sure. I think this is a one-off. I'm not worried about them going forward.
No.
But I think we will probably look back on their ultimate World Cup winning campaign and go, this was the weakest performance.
They've got another gear to go up.
Some of that is Wales disrupting them when they got to 22.
Sure.
And that's like something...
Wales do deserve some credit on that, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Stats that I'm going to give you.
Yeah.
I firstly have to thank friend of the channel, Jamie Lyle. Of course, we've played a bit of statistical ping pong, myself and Jamie, in the last week. After that stat about Julia Shirley messaged me on Instagram saying, I'm totally using this on comms for the Wales Canada video. And I said, yeah, don't worry about it. So I'm going to thank him for this stat, right? So Canada, in round one, their average ruck speed was 2.31 seconds per ruck, which is crazy low, insane. Right? And they have brought that down to 2.19, an average of 2.19 seconds per ruck. I've never seen a rugby team who plays that fast before.
Can I give you a stat to supplement that?
Yeah.
Do you know what Canada's percentage of rucks below 3 seconds is?
Go on.
86%.
That's mental, right? 86%. Those 14% will pretty much entirely be them setting up to kick.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, this is the thing, right? They don't really box kick.
Yeah.
Pelletier barely box kicks, so... does occasionally, but that allows for it, right? Because average ruck speed is generally brought down by those kicks, which take 6-7 seconds.
Of course, yeah. But regardless, that will be whenever they're setting up to kick.
They play faster rugby than anyone else in the world. Yeah. And they should have come up with a video.
So for context, right, that is over a second quicker than Ireland and New Zealand men. Yeah. So Ireland men, they're who are the two quickest in the men's game. Oh yeah, Scotland are the quickest in the men's game, aren't they? Ireland men, whose average ruck speed is 3.32 seconds, and New Zealand men, the All Blacks, whose average ruck speed is 3.22 seconds. Right. And they are over a second quicker than both of those.
confident Scotland is like 2.9. So I think they're still considerably quicker than Scotland.
I've never seen a rugby team who play that fast before, and it's crazy. Like, you know, you talk about Wales needing to work smarter, not harder. Even that becomes really difficult against a team like that who play at that speed. And when you are a team who do graft incredibly hard, it's high effort, high reward. But the reward massively minimises when you're getting tired out by this. And you look at tries such as Aja Hogan-Rochester's try down the left wing. That was the moment where I think both of us kind of gave up on this game and it just deflated.
We were saying this before recording, but our conversation around this game will probably be drastically different if not for that try.
Yeah, 100%.
It took a lot of air out of the balloon.
Yeah, 100%. And that came down to Canada creating a short side through creating quick ball and going quick hands down the edge and tiring Wales out where they're overstretched. Courtney Keat misses a tackle here because she's having to fold at such full lick, you know? Yeah, 100%. It's so difficult. And then, you know, Nell Metcalf unfortunately misses the tackle at the back because, again, as a fullback, that's really difficult to play against because you're constantly trying to pendulum from left to right and right to left, and the team are playing so fast. You're at full sprint the whole time rather than, you know, often as a fullback, defensively, you can get into a bit of a rhythm, same with like scrum halves in attack. But when you're playing against an opposition who move at that speed, it's essentially akin to like not having breakdowns, like playing as a sevens fullback, you know, if such a thing existed. It's crazy quick.
Yeah. Conversely, I think Wales were the second slowest this weekend.
Yeah.
I think they might have even been the slowest.
When Wales look fast, they look all right, but they so rarely play fast.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? So Canada, the core of them is so strong that even when things misfire, even when they give up more ball than usual, even when they make more errors than usual, even when a team does disrupt them defensively, they score 42 points against the number 8 ranked team in the world, right? Like, they are that level better. The only teams, I think, who wouldn't concede upwards of 20 points to them, even when Canada are at their worst, are New Zealand and England.
Yeah.
I think even France probably succumbed to 20, 30 points.
I think that's fair, yeah.
I think Ireland we saw, like, you know, Ireland, Canada came out and were good, you know.
Yeah.
But like that was kind of Canada's par, I think, is that Ireland performance World Cup warm-up. Where Ireland came out fired up for that. And like, do you know Scott Bamann's comments beforehand?
Yeah.
Where he said like, this is brilliant because like the best thing we can do before going to a World Cup is have loads of confidence beating Canada. And you were like, woo, hold on a second. You've skipped the most important part of this. But this Canada team are extremely good.
Yeah.
I think this was a weaker performance, but I'm not concerned about them.
Yeah. 3 names that I want to quickly talk about. Yeah. 1, McKinley Hunt. Outstanding, scored 2 tries. Brilliant. Is the perfect prop for this kind of team who is really good at the grunt work, but kind of gets around, helps up that ruck speed because she has the level of fitness and athleticism of like a number 8, but doesn't use it necessarily with the ball. Uses it more off the ball to help other people out and help that attack function. And it was really fitting that she got on the end of those 2 opportunities there. Usually just going for a pick and go or just ripping the ball off somebody.
The first one, her getting onto Sophie de Goody, is so like typical of what they do.
Yeah.
How they like to keep the ball alive.
She's a cog
at all times.
A great cog.
De Goody was unbelievable.
Yeah.
She was at her absolute best.
That was the second name I was going to bring up, Sophie de Goody.
I'll mention quickly, if we're working down the team, Emily Totosi as well.
Yes.
Who was obviously the starting cook in the last World Cup, has since fallen Van Bogue, but is absolutely great.
Yeah.
And I thought was just like a proper don't forget about me performance.
Yeah.
You know?
She's probably joint with Lark Atkin-Davis as the best line-up for her in the game as well.
Yeah.
And Jamie George, if you want to include woke men in there as well. But she's utterly phenomenal.
Yeah. And just in terms of like, came in, did literally everything you could want from them.
Yeah.
Is as good a second choice as anyone have in any position in this tournament. And it was a real reminder of that. Like,
100%.
Because there hasn't been much talk around her, because obviously Bogue's come in and taken that shirt. But yeah.
But you mentioned Sophie de Goody there a minute ago. Crazy level performance from her. Her offloading was just so hard to keep up with. Like, that doesn't even factor in on that ruck speed stat that sometimes it doesn't even get to a ruck and they're just offloading the ball and they're just impossible to keep up with. That is the part of her game that I don't see anybody keeping up with for the time being, because like Wales were often trying to put in 2-woman shots on her and she was still freeing the ball and kind of basketball passing it over people. Her carrying game's ludicrous. Like, she always gets over the gain line. 7 from 7 off the tee, flawless at the line out as well. Like, honestly, so difficult to think of like a weak part of her game, and also like came up with multiple jackal penalty turnovers. Yeah. So again, like, she was utterly unplayable in that game. And when you say that Canada were bon, she was excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, truly.
World class.
Trey Bon.
Classe de monde.
Yes. I thought she was just absolutely brilliant. Attack, defence, line out as well. Like,
Yeah.
she's such a good line out forward.
She's unbelievable.
And this is the part of the game I think it's talked about least, is the fact that she's one of the best line out forwards in the game as well.
Yeah.
As a great goal kicker, 100% goal kicking as well.
Yeah.
Like nailing them from the touch lines, then going on to that same touch line from the same spot and taking a line out moments later. It was those technical parts that stood out for me.
Also, this kick downfield as well when she
Yeah.
steals the line out and then suddenly just looks up into open air. And like it's something we've seen a little bit in the men's games, like hookers needing to, like Dan Sheehan, for example, is really good at this.
Yeah.
Hookers who, when they catch the ball in that scenario, need to know how to kick because that space opens up a lot.
Coming off
But having
such a
second row
long
can
period
do
of
that.
Welsh possession as well.
Yeah.
And her looking at going like thinking about the team and going like, what do we need? We need territory now.
Yeah.
And that's more than possession. We want to get down there. We've had the ball in our own half. We don't want that. We want to be
They
down there.
knew they'd win it back eventually.
It's just she's so smart. She's got such a feel for the game.
So good.
On top of having every technical ability you could ever want.
Yeah, the third player I want to talk about is Taylor Perry in
Yes.
the 10 jersey. I thought was exceptional.
Yeah.
And ran the game superbly. And once again, what I was saying about feeling sorry for the likes of Metcalf at 15 for Wales, right? You have to be so on the money as a fly half playing in a system that is this well oiled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you can't switch off because Canada really vary when they play off 9 and when they play off 10. And you need a 9 and a 10 who can call the shots constantly. Obviously, it helps that she's got Alex Tessier outside her.
The other thing is like Canada play off 4 or 3 as
They
much
do.
as they do off 10.
100% they do. And it was incredible looking at moments where they were like using like Tyson Bukaboom as a boot forward. And, you know, like, they constantly vary these things up. I think Emily Tatosi even ran out the boot at one point in this game, which is crazy. And as you say, De Goody often comes up as a 10 or as a 12. And you're right, Canada are the most positionless team, which really helps with this. But Taylor Perry still is the player who like calls the shots, you know, and she still has that to her. One moment I think really stood out for her was Alicia Corrigan's try, where she just changed the picture on the trot. Flaky George and Jasmine Joyce here both think they've read the play because they see 10, 12 and 11 in this triangle formation, thinking, what's going to happen? Tessier's going to run the hard line. Corrigan's going to run out the back. They're going to try and get it to the edge. It's the obvious play, right? Flaky George thinks she's read this perfectly, shoots up and gets slightly ahead of the ball, but it's fine. It's still defendable at this point. And instead, Perry, in collaboration with Corrigan, changes last second what call they're going for. Corrigan instead running that tip-off ball on the outside of Perry. Perry lifts it up to her perfectly. Jazz Joyce is marking 2 zones at once. Like, it makes Jazz Joyce look stupid here, but actually, like, I don't blame Joyce for this at all. Like, she looks like she's read this well, but the play has changed so last second. And great vision by Corrigan as well to know that this gap will open up on the inside of Joyce and manage to shrug off the tackle and score. Again, when you're playing at 1,000,000 miles an hour and making decisions at 2,000,000 miles an hour, it's so difficult to defend.
Yeah. I thought Alicia Corrigan was incredibly impressive as well. I wanted to mention it.
Yeah.
Her just sheer game intellect.
Yeah.
Like whenever she involves herself, whether it's hitting a support line, whether it's running a line off the ball. A few times we saw her just come in on a flood line, just like in front of the ball and then allowing it to hit forward in behind, just buying that forward an extra second.
Yeah.
Just, they're so smart in the way they use these players.
They're so flush with wingers. We've not seen Paige Farrish yet this World Cup. You know, with Asia Hogan-Rochester coming back in off the back of an injury.
Well, you mentioning like Taylor Perry as well. We haven't seen Claire Gallagher.
Yeah.
Right. And like, there's a good chance she doesn't play in this World Cup now.
Sure.
Because Perry's taken a chance in the one game against Fiji and nailed herself in.
Yeah. They've got crazy levels of depth, like all over the park. I was going to say just in the back line, but like they're all backs.
They've got so many players where you just don't notice if they're not playing.
Yeah.
Because the replacement does the same job so well. Like, again, you mentioned Asia Hogan-Rochester, right? Like, again, she's coming in for the injury to Fanta Bermudez with Paige Farrish having a knock as well.
Yeah.
And like, as your 4th choice winger, to then score that try and
I
be
think
that
she might be
exceptional,
first choice.
That's the other thing, right? Like,
Because
who knows?
she got an injury in the Black Ferns game
Yeah.
where they got the draw, and that was her first game back. But that's the thing, though, that like it speaks volumes that you were there thinking that she's 4th choice. I'm here thinking she's first. You can't put them into an order because like they're all such competitors with
The
each
only
other.
players who are really nailed down are Tessier. I think Peltier is probably nailed in.
Yeah, but
like,
Apps is
But this is the
unreal.
thing. I think a big part of that, and I wanted to mention this, is how good Apps is off the bench.
Yeah.
Like, Apps is brilliant coming on.
Yeah.
Because she's such a different threat. Like she comes on, she's much more physical, runs the ball more. I really like the using on her wing as well.
Yeah.
I think she's a really good winger.
She's got a great kicking game.
And obviously
on
a
the team.
sevens player, so she's got some experience in that role.
Yeah.
But
uber physical.
yeah, just that way she comes in as slightly faff to clerky.
Yeah.
And like without necessarily the kicking game, but that like very confrontational, but very fast.
Yeah.
And like will look to hand people off, but goes at a million miles an hour. I think she's like great and very different to Peltier, who again is looking for those little darts and looking around the fringes, and so often looking to draw someone in so she can put someone in a little hole and so on.
Yeah.
And is often thinking like slightly bigger picture, where Apps is more like action.
Yeah.
And I really like that as a dynamic of like
100%.
changing. Without fundamentally changing anything about how the team plays, you're changing what the defence has to watch for from the scrum half.
Yeah.
Really like that, and really like, it's tough on Apps because it means she's not getting much game time, but her coming off the last 20 minutes is sort of Tate McDermott-esque. Like,
Yeah. She's putting it in for those 20 minutes.
I think she's the best number 21 in the women's game in the way Tate McDermott is
Yeah.
in the men's. Like,
I think I'll back that.
It's something similar. Like,
Mo
it's a different
Hunt's up
role,
there, isn't she?
But Mo Hunt's the best number 9. Like, I think it's...
I'm not sure about that, but Pauline Baldwin-Zeus
Okay.
exists.
Sorry, okay, she's, the best human scrum half. It's the Tate McDermott thing is what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
in terms of like as a raw number 21,
Yeah.
like, changed the game completely. Except for the fact that Canada tend to be miles ahead in their game. So
It's a fair
we'll see
point
what this
because
goes later on,
I
but-
think typically England use Mo Hunt as a 21 because she's a good 21.
Yeah.
Even though you could probably argue she's probably, well, I say probably argue, you could definitely argue she's a better scrum half than Lucy Packer.
Yeah,
but typically they start Packer because of using Mo Hunt.
I still think when they lose that final to Canada, Hunt will be the starting scrum half.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
But
We'll
this is
see.
a different conversation.
It
for
is,
time.
it
We're
is.
getting off track, and we will get onto that. Any closing reflections on Canada?
They're good, aren't they?
They're good.
Like, if they're considering that a weaker performance, then yeah, that speaks volumes of them, doesn't it? And again, like, it helps that they have players like the De Goodies of the world and the Tessiers who can drive them through. But again, like, if that's a weaker performance and they have still got the quickest average ruck speed of any rugby team I've seen in my entire life, male or female, then they're doing something right.
All the talk has been around Canada's attack and Wales's effort in defence, right? No one's mentioning Canada's defence, which kept a clean sheet.
Yeah.
Like, their defence was great. They're
Keeping
just
a
incredibly
clean sheet
organised.
about against Wales is...
No,
yeah.
but all the same, like,
But I
that's
take
a
your
team
point.
who repeat, like, the team has spent genuinely, unironically, like, not an exaggeration, 9 straight minutes in their 22 and
Yeah,
that point
yeah,
out of
yeah.
it. Like, and
They
Canada
pick their moments to
also-
go hard at the breakdown as well. which
Canada
makes a
gave away
huge
one
difference.
penalty in those 9 minutes.
That's
like,
mad.
their penalty count's ridiculous.
So easy to
The
panic in
discipline's
that
great. So,
scenario.
like, you've got to give credit to the defence, and we haven't. So that's, again, something that I think Red Roses and Black Ferns will have to have a hard, long look at.
Yeah.
Closing comments on Wales, let's be quick.
I'm just sick of it, to be honest. But we're going to go to the Wales-Fiji
Yes.
game at the weekend. And obviously I'm terrified of that, right? And we'll talk about Fiji in a different video. But I really, really hope that the line out and the attack function. Because if not, the WU have to take a hard look at themselves and how they've treated women's rugby.
Regardless, they do.
They do.
Regardless,
Of course they do.
Right, the teams that perform at this World Cup will be the teams. Well, Canada got. They happened to stumble across one of the best up-and-coming coaches in the world.
Yeah.
Like, out of nowhere, happened to just be like there in Quebec, but still have like a decent system and lots of strong assistants alongside. Everyone else that's going to be successful at this World Cup has a very strong coaching panel beyond just the head coach. Wales have a very strong head coach, and so
They've cheapened out a little bit elsewhere, let's say. Yeah.
So there we go. We're repeating ourselves, but hey, you can't really help it when, like, the team is doing this over and over again. But hey, cool. We love the WAU around here. What an organisation. I love it when they do misogyny scandals every 3 weeks.